Welcome back to Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. If you're enjoying this series or any content on the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and a like does really help. Today, as the title suggests, we're rebuilding the 1969 Salem Spectre Fastback. Now it comes with a really big engine. It is in fact a V8 2-carb 0HP engine, so a pretty big engine. We got this car from the barn for a grand total of £26,935. It's not in a bad shape. To be fair, a lot of it can be fixed. We have already lost money as it is, but that's to be expected. So we're going to rebuild this to factory standard. We're going to start off with the little examination of the car itself. We normally do this in the barn, but for this one, for some reason, we hadn't. I can't remember why we didn't, to be fair. So because of that, we'll take the XP that we can get quite easily from this, and that will help with our levelling up at least. But really quick examination, and that is that just about finished. Car itself, like I say, bodywork wise, is in pretty good shape. A lot of that should be able to be fixed. I don't see any reason why it can't. Obviously glass will need replacing, and the aim is to get this car to 100% factory standard, as we always do the first time we do a car. But it's a nice looking car. As you can see straight away, the engine's missing a few parts, which again, it's to be expected. But we're just going to take all the bodywork off. The one thing we're going to do in this video different to the others, I'm going to speed up the engine rebuild and other little bits and pieces, just to try and get the video time down. But I usually talk through these bits. I'm not going to today. I want to see what you guys think of me not talking over the speed up, just in case it's any different. I'm kind of undecided really of what to do for it. But we're going to now take out the seats in the centre of the car. These are something I generally forget about until last minute. So I kind of thought, in this car, we're going to take them out first. I guarantee I'll forget to put them back in until the last minute. But there we go. That is all out at least. So now we need to disconnect the engine and get the engine out of there. So bring the car up. And we've got to disconnect the exhaust. Again, the underside is looking really good. We've also got to disconnect the drive shaft as well. But even in underside, the gearbox looks in a pretty good shape. I'm happy with that. That's normally a big expense. And considering the car cost us just over $26,000 from the barn, it's not the cheap car we've done previously. This is a bit more of an expensive range of car. And quite expensive for its age. I must admit, it looks pretty good for its age. That is something I do like. Okay, so that is that all disconnected. We'll go and get the engine lift. And we can take it out. There we go. Oh. Do you know what? I normally remember this, and I normally drain oil as a matter of course. This time I absolutely forgot. We're going to drain the oil before we take the engine out. As I say, it's normally something we do automatically, especially after taking the gearbox off, because it's already up. For some reason, I just didn't think about it. Okay, drain the oil. At least we didn't make a leak. It wouldn't allow us to, which is brilliant. Drop the car back down. Health and safety says we shouldn't really walk underneath the car when it's up in the air like that, but there we go. And now we should be able to take the engine out. Hopefully it'll work. It does indeed. There we go. So we'll take the engine to the engine stand. And as I say, we will fast forward the ripping the engine apart, and I won't talk over it this time, and we'll come back once it's all sorted out. There's quite a bit to take off. We'll see you in a minute. So that is the engine near enough taken apart. Disassembled was the word I was after. Camshaft to come off next, and then crankshaft, and then the engine block itself. We'll often fix everything, and we've fixed everything, brought what we needed. Now we're going to try and put it all back together. In fact, we haven't brought everything. I've just realised we haven't. So bear with me while we buy. I think we'll speed up the putting back together as well. It's always nice watching it back afterwards and seeing it all come together really nicely. Just the fan to go on now. And that engine is looking really nice. Oh, we've also got the ignition coil B as well. Completely forgot about that. And the engine head cover. And maybe there's a few more bits I forgot about. But it's a nice looking engine. And it's come together really nicely. Don't forget the fuel filter. Oil filter, sorry. But it has come together really nicely. We have still got to put the gearbox side of stuff on. But that is the engine rebuilt, put back together. And it does look good. The reason we fast forward the builds and the taking apart on especially the big engines, there are some parts of it that are really tedious. Mainly the push rods. It's quite tedious putting them in and out. So it's easier just to speed it up. If you guys want to see it in real time, more than happy to do so. But obviously the videos will then become very, very long. I was aiming to do under 20-minute videos when we first started the series. And it's very hard to do that on rebuilds and show what we've done to a decent degree. But gear side of stuff back on. And that is the engine complete. Now, time to take apart the car suspension. Here we are. So we'll start on the front right, and again we're going to speed up the taking this suspension apart. It's fairly simple, we've done it many times, and the car is mostly like the others, so we're going to speed it up again. I won't talk through it, and we'll see you in a second. and that is nearly done. So rubber bush coming out, we've got the leaf spring to come off, and then we have the leaf spring rear drive axle and our fuel tank. We're going to go off, fix everything, and we're back in a second. Here we are, one more tyre to balance before we put everything back together on the car. Nice quick balancing. We don't show the balancing tyres very often, I must admit. It's quite nice to show every now and then. There we go. Now, car back to... before we do the car, I've had a thought. There's something we haven't done. We haven't welded the car. Now, we should do this. You should do this if you want 100%, because it'll depend on the bodywork. We need to bring the car down, don't we? There we go. Nearly forgot to bring the car down. Perfect. Okay, let's weld it. It's going to cost us £1,300. Money well spent if it gives us that little bit extra on the sale price. That is done. You don't, unless the car is extremely rusty, you don't actually notice it, but it does make a difference. Car back up, and now we can begin putting it all back together. So again, we'll speed up the suspension rebuild, and we'll see you very shortly. So there's the last speed up of the video. We've done everything we needed to do. It takes time. So we're just putting on the last wheel now, and then we can drop the car down and do the engine. But it's come together nicely. Most of these do. We just need to take all the old stuff out. So the fuse box needs to come out, the old one, and the fuses themselves. But yeah, most of the rebuilds do come together really nicely. And I'm interested to see how this does. For a car of this age, I'm not expecting miracles out of it on the track. So it will be interesting to see what it does. Fuse box was in the red, so we're not going to be able to fix it. It will have to be completely replaced. I haven't taken the engine off the engine stand, have I? No. I make the mistake a lot, to be fair. So we'll take the engine off the engine stand, take it back through, and we can now put the engine back in the car. And there's 100% engine done. Now, we need to put everything back into the engine bay, but let's first get rid of the crane. Engine crane can go away. So, we can either, let's do the gearbox first, on the underside of the car. I think that's an important thing to put back on, before I forget, as always. So, gearbox will be first. We can just get the right view on it. There we go, should get closer. Some of the views are really difficult to try and get right. Starter motor, back on. As I say, a lot of these parts were fixable. So, other than the exhaust parts, because they can't be fixed, most of it was. So we did really well. We do need to still do some of the exhaust parts by looks of things. We haven't actually bought everything. Didn't realise we hadn't. So we'll have to add those to our shopping list and we'll go and buy those now. I don't know why I was interviewing parts, to be fair. There we go. But yeah, a lot of the engine parts that can be fixed were able to be fixed. Suspension parts were really good at being able to be fixed as well. So we saved a lot of money because of the actual state of the car when we bought it. So that's a big plus to us. I'm hoping for a decent profit. So what do we need here? Two more exhaust parts for the rear mufflers, and that's the exhaust all complete. There we go, 1 and 2 all sorted. So it's all looking good. What else do we need? I think it's all just engine bay stuff now, to be fair. Let's bring the car down and have a look at the engine bay. It's going to be the reservoirs, battery, fuse box, that kind of stuff. I'm thinking at this point. Yes, and a radiator. We haven't got a radiator. That's a very good point, actually. Need to buy a radiator, and all the reservoirs and the battery. Oh, and the brake servo. Nearly missed the brake servo off the shopping list then. So radiator seat, there we go, nice and easy. The fuse box will be an electrical, so we'll come back to that in a second. Power steering reservoir, window washer reservoir. Battery will be in electronics, so brake servo, and then we can head to electronics. I'm still not massively au fait with the fuse boxes, so I do have to buy the base, then go round and put on the shopping list all the fuses it needs, and then do it that way. It's a slower way of doing it, but I'm just not able to be able to grasp what is needed ahead of time, annoyingly. So we'll just have to press all the relays and put them on a shopping list. There we go. So we need to buy those, and then again we'll have to buy the top to the fuse box afterwards as well. And that is the last relay. So we can now put these back in place. The engine hasn't got too much to do in the engine bay, to be honest. It's looking okay. And it doesn't look like we spent that much so far. We'll do a total profit in a bit, but yeah, the total profit, I mean total spend. The car cost us 26,000, well 27 just under. I'd estimate about £20,000 spend, possibly. Anything under that I think I'd be quite happy with, to be fair. Right, we need the fuse box cover. And then that is done. I think that's all the parts now brought. I don't think we need to buy anything else. It's just liquids to put in, I think. Could be completely wrong. I'm prone to the odd mistake when we're rebuilding cars, so I'm not going to count my chickens just yet. Okay, so let's refill the radiator back up with the coolant. Perfect. Reservoir for the power steering, we can fill that back up as well. These are the last little bits of money we need to spend on the car itself. And the window washer, perfect. Okay. Brake servo last thing to fill up. And that is done as well. I think that's looking good. Now, it's at this moment I realised a mistake. I looked through the inventory to see what we need to go and scrap and stuff like that, and I realised we'd missed something. Now, you probably didn't spot it because we did a speed up rebuild of the suspension, but on this left rear, we hadn't put the leaf spring plate on, which also means we don't have the two bolts on either. The U-bolts, we haven't leaf spring U-bolts, we haven't put either of those on, so we're just putting those on now. That was the first of two mistakes. And here's the car. We have put all the body parts back on. We haven't realised the second mistake yet. We'll talk about that in a second. But put everything back in the car. So these are the brand new seats with the brand new steering wheel. We always go standard, so whatever it suggests we need, we use. We don't ever change really that. The inside of the car doesn't really matter as much to me. So there we go, the car is 100% done. Bodywork is all back on. It's been fixed where possible, replaced where needed. And that is us done. So, I'm going to go off and paint the car. I haven't quite decided what colour yet. And we'll come back in a second with the new car completely ready for the test track. See you in a second. And this is what I went for. This is a gloss red. I don't know why. Red is also my favourite colour, but I also thought the car looked really nice with the sun glistening off. So I went for a red. I just think it suits it. So that's what we chose. At this point, before we go to the racetrack, I will tell you, we did make a mistake. We hadn't put oil in the engine. But we do have to spend a little bit more money to do that before we leave. And we'll start our fast lap. Now, you will notice we're finishing a lap that is 15 minutes long. That is because I got an important phone call while recording this and had to pause the game in the middle of a lap. So the 15-minute lap is still one of our 5. Obviously it won't be our fastest. So currently before this lap we'd done a fastest lap of 2 minutes and 2 seconds. But this was the fastest lap we could do. This is lap 4. The car itself was a bit jittery with the steering. I did notice that. But it was very quick. And it, like I say, it's a V8 2-carb 0 HP engine. It's expected to be quick. Under braking, it was a little bit tough to keep control of at times, and I had to be a little bit careful how much speed I applied and when. The car did like to veer off if you weren't careful. Hence the 2 slow laps to get used to the car. I'm still ignoring that 15 minutes. That really bugged me. Having to do that, but I didn't have a choice. I did consider starting over, but then I thought it would be unfair. I'm trying to keep our leaderboards fair. We massively messed up the corner there by going outside of the bollards, but saved ourselves crashing, so that helped. We probably lost a few tenths of a second doing that, more than we would have done if we took the corner properly, all because we just missed our braking point. And again here we're struggling to get the car around the corner. It's the acceleration, it wants to go away from you and spin out the back end whenever you accelerate. It's really struggling to keep us on the road and apply power. A lot of these cars, especially the older cars, have vintage tyres. I think that's an issue. And when we do our full-on performance rebuild, which will be after we freestart a car, we'll then use sport tyres probably for our fastest laps. Vintage tyres can be really difficult under acceleration. But here we are on the final bend for our fastest lap for this car, and that is a 1:55.149. That puts the Salem Spectre Fastback second on our all-time leaderboard. That's really impressive. I wasn't expecting a car from 1969 to go second on the fastest lap leaderboard. I wasn't expecting that the slightest. Now, top speed, again, I'm not expecting miracles, but it does have a V8 2-carb engine. That tells me this should be good. So, we're nearly getting to its peak. What are we going to end at? And we are peaking at 229 kilometers per hour. That is maximum speed. That equals 142.294 miles per hour and puts the Salem Spectre Fastback first place on the top speed leaderboard. That is impressive. So we'll work out the numbers now as well. We spent £14,405 doing up the car. If we added that to the £26,935 we spent buying the car, total spend is £41,340. We can sell the car for £63,518. That gives us a profit of £22,178. A very good profit for a car that is now second on our lap time leaderboard and first on the top speed. Pretty happy, pretty impressed. Wasn't expecting anywhere near them kind of numbers. As always, thank you for everyone for watching. We will see you next time, and I hope you enjoyed the video.